What's up, everyone? What's up? What's up? Let's wait for some people to join the chat, the live chat. This is episode 4. Hello, Gata. Hey, Shadira. How are you? Mordida is there. Hello. Rose is there. So I'm just waiting for some people to join, and then I will invite Mestre Deus in the house. Mestre Graveto. So yeah, this is the 4th episode of Capoeira Talk. I started to feel more comfortable with it. I have a big list actually for capoeiristas to join in later episodes, so to speak. Big names, little less known names in capoeira, but it doesn't matter. It's all about learning from each other and learning from different perspectives. So I'm really happy that people want to join me with my projects, with my learning project. I have a cup of tea, always my cup of tea. And am I all good? All right. All right, Master is in the house. I'm gonna invite you, man. Let me see. Oh yeah, here. Okay, I sent you a request. Let me check if it's available. Hey.
What's up, brother?
What's up, man? How are you?
Covering our event this past weekend, but other than that, we're doing well.
Nice. Hey, thank you for doing this, man. Your audio's, I don't hear you. Now,
How about now?
yeah.
If not, let me see if I can change it. Let's see.
I can check now.
Yeah, hopefully your connection is good. Yes?
Yes.
Yes. Awesome.
So, man, how are you?
Doing well. Doing well, like I said. We just had a rough anxiety organizing the event. And the event itself was amazing. Such a high. It's almost like a sadness, but I'm also glad it's all over.
Yeah. Again, the audio's a little bit off, man. I can hear you really far.
Let's see. Is it better now?
Yeah, now it's better.
Okay, I think my stand was blocking the microphone port.
Okay.
There we go.
Now I can hear you clear, crystal clear, man. Crystal clear. So again, what did you say before?
No, I was just saying that with every event that we organize, there's a time of anxiety leading up to it.
Yeah.
And then it's over. We're glad it's done. I miss all that energy, but I'm thankful for some rest right now.
Yeah. Yes, relatable, because you have the road again towards the event, and you're all hyped and so many things you have to to arrange, but
Yeah.
and then the event starting to happen. It's just okay, we just go, and in the end it's like, all right, I'm kind of glad it's over, because now you're, like you said, I can rest. I can rest.
And it's dual feelings, right? Because from the students' perspective, they miss what they experienced because they weren't 100% involved in all the behind the scenes things.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So it's different from the perspective of the one who's organizing it. So I know you can attest to that.
Yeah. Yes. I have upcoming event that June 3rd. I was celebrating my 10th year of my group.
Crazy
so
how fast! Congratulations! Time flies. I remember when you started.
Jumping, man. So a lot of things have to arrange, but we're gonna have a big party, and batizado, troca de cordas, and just having a ball, man. Just having a party. Capoeira, batizados and trocas, it's just a party with some capoeira in it, I see it as a celebration every year.
You know, I had that same conversation with my students recently because I have some students that join from other martial arts, and their only frame of reference when it comes to ranking and stuff is like a test, a big test, very stressful.
Yeah.
And I told them, I was like, man, to be honest with you, the test is the whole year.
Whole
This
year.
is more of a celebration
Yeah.
of what you already accomplished and who you already are. Now we're just getting to show it off to the greater capoeira community. And, until you go through that first one, you can't understand it, So I think bachizados are like an amazing time for every capoeira community, but obviously specifically for the one that you're in,
Yes, exactly. This is the same thing that I always explain to newcomers. It's not like a test. It's not like an exam, because it's through the whole year, through the whole year, and then we celebrate it that you kind of made it, and celebrate that you become a capoeirista.
Right.
Whether it is first time or your troca, we're still celebrating the fact that you are still a capoeirista, even though it's troca. You're still a capoeirista. You still made another year, So it's your birthday. So you have to. Sometimes I think like that,
Yeah.
It's not all about the corda itself. It's about the celebration that you're still in capoeira,
And even for those that don't rank up or haven't reached the point where they're about to rank up yet, it serves as a way to reignite that fire, right?
Yes,
to kind of remotivate them.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why this year we started a tradition now where besides the actual batizado, we want to have more events where you invite guests to come just for a workshop or just a roda, encontros, because there is something to be said. We all feel that kind of like was the lack of motivation and kind of the hit that wall. And sometimes just having somebody else or a different person join the class makes a huge difference, So it's a great motivational tool to test your skills with other people that you're not used to playing with, seeing us. And it's funny, I know you're going to say yes to this too. You can teach the exact same thing that the other master is teaching in the workshop, but because they're teaching it now and they want things different.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I tried to say that the whole time. You guys never listened.
This is the greatest stuff ever, man. I was like, we had this like last week,
Yeah.
But it's the new energy coming
Absolutely.
in, But to be honest, we need this too, to elevate our spirit, our fire, we awaken our fire again, Because sometimes when you're teaching all the time, it sometimes becomes a little bit stale, and you also need the new energy, the new fire to reawaken, So that's why one of the reasons is why I'm doing this. This is my little project, to talk about capoeira, to share our experience, to share our upbringing in capoeira, and to learn from each other. For me, it's more like to learn from you, from your stories. And this is kind of a little project that I've been doing right now, and to ask many capoeiristas all over the world, what is capoeira for you? How was your upbringing? And how do you, look towards in capoeira, So for me, it's the kind of person, because I need this kind of reawakened fire to have more, how you call it? I want to do more for the capoeira community, not only for me, capoeira community, what it means to be a capoeirista, So that's the thing, because for a teacher, it's also really a good moment to have those kind of things, bring new people towards the class for workshops, masters, contramasters, whatever, and to train or to see what they are doing, and like
it's funny because this was our 14th event here in Texas, and prior to that, I lived in St. Martin where we started the group there, and my mestre has been with me for every single event, so like 30 something events that we've put together. And I told him, sometimes it's not even the fact that he's here to teach a workshop. It's just the fact that he's here to have those conversations, to the stuff that happens outside of capoeira as well. That, like you said, can reignite that fire. And, as when you develop a relationship with someone for such a long time, they're able to see the things outside of capoeira that are also need a little bit of massaging in the right way, or just some friendly words of advice, you know, or just a shoulder to lean on, or to a person to listen to. And I think a lot of that, like what you're doing right now, sometimes we get lost in a space where we think that, oh, you know, my experience is very unique. It's only happening to me, you know. But having conversations like this, even though we have very different backgrounds, very different, in our case, very similar actually, but
Yeah.
very different backgrounds and paths in capoeira,
Yeah.
there's far more that we have in common. And it's always nice to hear that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Because like you said, going back to having a mastery, just be there and just support you, you know. And I have that too, you know. I have a mastery, and he always say, "I'm not standing above you. I'm standing next to you, man. I'm just helping you. If you need my advice, if you need my help,
Great.
just call me, and I will come, or I'll give you some advice, you know." And sometimes I call him for advice, or you know, sometimes I fed up with stuff and
Yeah.
just have to need to vent.
Yeah.
I will call him, text him. I was like, and he's been really cool about it. And when he's coming to my town, we have long conversations, you know, like 2-3 hours conversation, just about capoeira, also about things outside of capoeira, what makes you you, you know. And it helps a lot, you know. It helps a
Cool.
lot to have a person that understands you in this area, that can, you know, relate to, you know. And I'm really, you know, blessed that I have a mastery like
That's
that, you know.
awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, but Graveto, really cool that you want to do this, man. Really nice.
No, man, from your very first guest, who was a very dear friend of mine, Mucho Tempo,
Yeah.
uh, when I saw you doing this, I was like, man, that's really cool. And then so when you extended invitation, it was a no-brainer. I was like 100%, you know, like, so again, thank you for the platform and for doing this. And I wish you much success. I can't wait for this to blow up and
Yeah.
become something big you ever imagined.
Yeah. Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, because I had this. I said it before. I had this idea a long time in my head, but and it never came to fruition. It it was even back in the pandemic area, you know. So time and but I was like, whatever, you know. Who want to talk to me about capoeira, you know? But I still had to figure things out. Okay, how I'm gonna approach this? What platform? You know, Facebook, YouTube, or you know, Instagram. But you know, I started to feel more comfortable doing this on Instagram, and I didn't have any plans. So, and I started to follow Mute Tempo. I like his style of, you know, communicating towards capoeira community with his comedic chops. You know,
Yeah.
I was like, I think he's a really nice guy. Let's have a chat. You know, so I just reached out to him, just hope for the best, and he was down. You know, and was like, okay, just do it, just do
Well,
it.
I
You know?
don't think you could have picked a better person, because that's the kind of person he is, man. You know, he's always willing to help. You
Yeah,
know, he got a great name in capoeira, in and out of the
yeah,
capoeira world, but
cool.
always trying to further, like you said, further enhance the conversation
Yeah,
about
yeah,
capoeira.
yeah, yeah,
Despite,
and that's
yeah,
what I'm looking for, also personal, because as a teacher and you're so long in the business, sometimes it's good for a teacher or for anyone to learn from different side of views, you know, perspectives, and because you have a little bit of different background than I have, but we're still from the island, we're island boys, you know.
till the
And
day we die, man.
yeah, I'm gonna ask questions about that later, but um, it's I want to learn so much, and not only physical stuff, because there's a certain plateau that you're hitting. Okay, and I was like, okay, I did all my stuff physically. Let's get more knowledge. Let's train here. You know,
Yeah.
reading more, listen to podcasts, um, doing this. You know, I can, you know, I can ask people, oh, what do you think about this? But let me be the one that's actually, you know, create something. You know, I've always been a creative person, but sometimes I don't know how to manifest it. You
Yeah.
know, and then it was like one day I was like I said, I have no plan. I was like, you know what, F it, let's do it now. You know,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people that I've learned from already from their conversations, and I had one with Ponchanino as well. Beautiful stories, and that's like, man, that's so
But
so relatable. You know?
I think what you said is super interesting, because like you said, now your priority has changed, right? To condense down from movements to more knowledge. But I think that's really important because oftentimes, you know, we find people that fall into one camp where like I've attained everything I want to get and there's no more.
Yeah.
And so they either stop with their quest for more knowledge or quest for any kind of furtherment. But I think it's really awesome that you start to see the various ways in which you can contribute, because it also reflects a lot of our students' journey. Some people who have, for example, some physical disabilities or limited capacity for acrobatics or music, they might hit that point earlier where it's like, you know, I don't want to do this anymore. And if you don't have ways to identify with them and relate to them, it's like, hey, I get it, man, you know, because I got to a certain point where this was no longer my focus. If you're able to then have other ways that you can express your capoeira, express your interest for capoeira, you can better relate to your students who might hit that wall or that divergence in their path.
Exactly.
You know, your own experience.
Exactly. Yeah, that's really true. It's really true. So I have a question. Most
Sure.
About a little bit the origin story about my guests. Why capoeira? How did you come in contact with capoeira? And what is in the name Graveto? Go.
So I think, like, you know, like most people our age group, our first contact with capoeira was the movie Only the Strong.
Yeah, man.
You know, and back in St. Martin, it was such a hit, man, that during the carnival period, they even took one of the songs, the Paranauê, and they converted it into a soca, Bananauê. And that was the tune that year, you know? And so, like, every one of my friends, we went outside and started doing stuff on the beach. And then that disappeared because there was no capoeira.
No.
I was always a big into martial arts. And so I was also into music. So it's like, man, this is such a cool combination of everything that I like, you know?
Yeah.
But anyhow, couldn't find it. And then, you know, we experienced it again in video games with Tekken and Eddie Gordo and all this other stuff.
Yes.
Fast forward, I moved to the United States for college. And the college that I went to, it was divided into, for lack of a better word, dorms. But there were more like independent little colleges with their own dean and their own master. The dean was in charge of like academic affairs. Yeah. And the master was in charge of like the social events happening in our dorm. And it just so happened that the guy who was the master of our college was a very prominent professor of African American studies, African studies, and art history. Yeah. And he spoke a ton of languages and was also obsessed with capoeira. And so he would often have these little parties in the courtyard, and he would bring, I didn't know who they were, and now I found out later that they were capoeiristas from Abadá with Bom Jesus in New York. And they would come and give demonstrations. I was like, oh my God, this is the stuff I saw on the movie, and it's right here. But they were in New York, so I was like, that's too far. I was living in Connecticut. Finally, after I graduated, my last year, I was working for 1 year on my extension of my student visa. There was a flyer at our gym that said capoeira classes. I was like, awesome, I'm gonna go. And I get there, there's a sign-up sheet with 20 spots, and I'm person number 21.
What?
And I'm like, ah. So I go inside and I see the guy who would become my master, and he was like, hey man, you know, we didn't think that the organizers didn't think that capoeira would work, that there'd be any interest. So they limited my space to only 20 people. So unfortunately, I can't let you join. But since you're here, you can.
Nice.
So I trained. I came back the following week. He's like, man, you don't listen very well. You don't have any space, you know. But since you're here, you can train. Man, exactly. I stayed until one person dropped out and I became student 20.
Awesome.
And my master always says, out of those 20 or so people that were there, none of them continued. And the guy who he tried to get rid of is one who became his student for a long time, you know, going on 20-something years now with Mestre Ephraim. And so, and again, when I moved, again, this is a continuation, I guess, of the story. But like I said, I had 1 year experience to work on my, after my student visa expired. So I wasn't actually training capoeira for very long before I returned to St. Martin. But I was hooked, man, 100% hooked, and decided to look for a capoeira teacher there. And there was none. There actually was a guy later that I found out was starting to teach on the French side. We became good friends, a guy named Guarana, student of Mestre Purum. And but his school fizzled out as he, his job led to other things.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Anywho, we didn't have capoeira, and so I would still train. I would talk to my mestre. I would go to the beach and train capoeira. And these kids, literally high school kids, came up to me and was like, "Hey man, what is that you're doing?"
Yeah.
There's this thing called capoeira. I'm not a teacher, but this is what I do. They're like, "Well, you have to show us at least one move." So I did.
A backflip.
Yeah, like I think it was
Yeah.
escobrado or a headstand. And then they kept coming back whenever they saw me in the beach. And so I called my mestre. I was like, "Mestre, I don't know what to do, man." He's like, "Well, be honest with them. You're not a teacher, but there's no other capoeira there. Make like a capoeira awareness group that you guys can get together and talk about capoeira."
Yeah.
And so we did. And
cool.
when I tell you, man, it went from 2 kids on the beach to hundreds of kids that just joined.
Nice.
And so at one point I called my mestre. I was like, "Mestre, we have a problem. We have a problem." And I said, "Do you mind coming here and seeing the work that we did?" And so we organized a fundraiser. We did a theatrical show to raise money to bring these mestres from United States, as well as some of your friends. Moral was there. Gotera came down as well. Nice. Mestre Efraim, Mestre Cigano, and at that time, Contra Mestre Glauber.
Cool.
And the idea was just to come down and do some workshops and see the work that we did. And I remember them coming off the airport, and all these kids had heard about Capoeira Masters, and they read the signs, and they picked them up. And we go to check in at the hotel. And while Mestre Efraim and them are checking in the hotel, Mestre Cigano goes like this to his shirt, and he says, "Look outside." And they turn, and the kids are already, because they've been waiting for too long. They have to play capoeira. So they got an impromptu roda, and they're playing very well, and they couldn't believe it. By the end of the weekend, they did samba, they did maculele, everything, man. Wow. And my mestre turned to me and he said, "Graveto, you don't have to take my name. You don't have to join my group. You don't have to do anything. I'm not going to force anything. But if you need my support, it's there." And I said, "Mess, of course, I'm not going to go anywhere else, and I would love that." And that started, my path in teaching, because I had no alternative. There was no other option. And
that's cool.
It was awesome, man. And, fast forward, I taught in St. Martin for 10 years. Yeah. I moved here to Texas, and now this year I've been teaching here to show you how time flies. 1 year longer than I was in St. Martin.
Really?
For me, that's mind-blowing, because I was only going to be here for maybe a year or 2.
Yeah, because in my head, you were still in St. Martin, man.
I know. I know. I'm still in contact there, and would you believe it? One of those same kids that came to me on the day on the beach to ask to learn, that kid took over my group in St. Martin, and is still teaching to this day. How cool is that, man?
Nice. That's really nice. The circus complete, man. The circus
complete.
That's what it's about. You spread it, you plant the seed, and it has to grow and spread all of it. Nice story, man.
Yeah, man. So very proud of the work that we did.
Yeah, should be.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And as for Graveto, now as I'm getting older, I'm 45 now, I'm starting to pack on some weight. I like watching your posts, and I hate them at the same time, because you are like the perfect specimen condition. I'm like, man, I can't look at this. I don't feel like less of a man. But no, I used to be always in very good shape, but I was always very skinny. So Mestre Lobão gave me my nickname. He was like, "Oh, Graveto." And Mestre Efraim tried to make it seem like, oh, it means like twig, like the kindling that you use to light a fire.
Oh, yeah.
And Lobão was like, no, you're skinny.
No sugarcoating.
You're skinny, man. That's it.
Oh, nice, man. Nice. I remember because we only met each other once.
Yes.
I don't know which year it was. I think 2006, 2007.
It might have been that. And I remember distinctly because another friend that we share in common is Congo. And he's another. This is that's why I'm so happy you're doing this, man, because communication and connection is far greater than anything else that Capoeira has given me. Capoeira has given me so much. But the love for our art form that unites us is so powerful, man. And Congo's an example of that. Congo saw me going back to St. Martin, had never met me, but was so excited that another Antillean was doing Capoeira and in St. Martin. He made a website for us before I even thought about doing it.
Really?
Yeah, man. He was putting all kinds of pictures up and
Yeah.
everything. And
Cool.
I told him, I was like, man, we've never met, but if I ever go to the Netherlands, we'll hook up.
Yeah.
And then I did. I got there and I said, hey, man, I'm in so and so. You want to meet up? He's like, hey, I do, but you know, Capoeira's always got a little but. And he's like, you know, there's a Capoeira Talk
Yeah.
event, and I want to
Yeah.
go, right?
Yeah.
And with Tinica.
Yes. With Tineke.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I was like, he's like, I have a car, but I have no money. He said, I said, Congo, I have some extra cash. I'll pay for you at the event.
Yeah.
And then we'll go together. So I met at the train station, and in that car ride,
Yeah.
we finalized that friendship that we had
Wow.
online for years. And then
Yeah.
we went there, and I remember him getting very mad at me and you because after the workshops, we were sharing movements together.
Yes.
You know, the
I remember that.
and you would show me something, and I would pick it up.
Yeah.
And then I do something in 2 seconds. And Congo was like, man, you guys, what's wrong with you? You're supposed to at least pretend to struggle with the movements. You know, but it was great meeting you then, you know, and, you know, sometimes you can meet a person, you know, like my master always says, in a former life, we were friends.
Yeah.
You know, and, you know, and again, having the conversations with you now, like I said, I haven't seen you in years, but it feels just the time we were talking.
It feels so natural.
In the gym. Yeah.
It's likewise. Because I was thinking about our, when we met each other for the first time, I started, what was Kodauji Oro?
Yeah.
I think we were exchanging movements. Congo were there. It was during the break, intermission, you know.
Yes.
It was like, it was really fun.
I'm gonna try and find. I have the game of us somewhere on my hard drive. Somewhere.
Really?
I'll get it. Yes, man. I'll get it and send it to you.
Oh,
I have it somewhere.
That will be dope, man. Because I lost so many footage back in the days from, you know, those kind of events, you know, because my hard drives crashed, or you know, there was no social media back then, so it's hard to track, you know.
Yeah.
So
no cloud storage now.
Exactly, you know,
man. I've lost so many files over the years.
I would love to see that, man. If you can.
Yes, no, I'll look for today, and this weekend I'll get it to you.
Cool,
sure.
Nice, man, nice. So, yeah, so you've been in Texas for like 11 years.
11 years. I moved here in 2012.
Yeah.
And I've been here for 11 years now, and we had some biannual events, so we've had 14 events here now.
Yeah.
Our group is the only one within Texas is huge, you know, and the bigger cities have lots of capoeira.
Yeah.
But where I'm located is Brownsville, Texas. It's basically at the border with Mexico. You cannot go further south.
Oh, really?
In Texas, yes. So we're by the ocean, which is nice. It reminds me of home. And we're at the border of Texas, so the majority of people here are of a Mexican origin. And that also leads to some interesting connections with my country, because a lot of our interests are the same. We love music, we like to eat, to party.
Yes.
That tends to be, it was a good mix. And the community is very small here. And so I was always like, man, if I'm going to move somewhere, I want to move to a bigger city. But then, you know, we tried to create work, man, and we created a little oasis here, I think, in Brownsville.
Yeah.
A great community of capoeiristas. You know, yesterday we were training, and one of the moms came to me, and she was like, you know, how long has my son been here? I was like, I don't remember. It's been a while. And, you know, when kids train with you from 9, 10 years, you see them grow in front of you, you know. So kids that were, you know, 3 and 4 years old, they're now teenagers. One of my students in St. Martin yesterday, she started when she was 3 years old, and she messaged me, and she was like, as I told her I was going to be on this live, and she was like, okay, well, prior to you going on, just to make you feel even older, you're about to be an oppa, because I'm having a baby. I'm like, this is the girl who was the flower girl at my wedding, and now, you know, 3 years old, and now she's a mom. It's crazy, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, I start to notice that my kids as well, you know, the kids group, and I teach also kids, and we've added the summer break, you know, then you start to notice. So after summer break, we have like 6 weeks summer break. Man, the kids grow so fast. The first training after summer break, I vividly remember one of my kids students. He was like, 12, 13, you know, in his early teen years. And after summer break, he stepped in. He walked in. I was like, damn. It was like this. Like
talks like this with a deep voice.
Man. Help to you. What did you eat, man? But it's so nice because they were so long. They started like when they were 6, 7. Now they're like 12, 13. I have one kid, he started with me when he was, I think, 8. And now he's trained with the adult group. He's
Yeah.
15 now, you know. It's so surreal, you know. Now he's
Yeah.
like eye to eye, you know.
Yeah.
It's so surreal. But it's fun because to us, 5 years is not that much. But for 5 years for a
Oh,
kid,
huge.
it's
Huge.
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 Huge difference, you
Oh
know,
yeah.
difference.
In the development and everything.
Yeah.
It's a big amount of time. Yeah.
Yeah. And you have 2 kids and
Do
they are caprices as well, right?
as well, you know, and not by being forced. I
Oh,
always made this very clear. They can stop tomorrow.
yeah.
I'm not going to feel that. My only requirement is whatever they don't stop doing everything, you know. So whatever they want to do. My son, for example, is hardcore into soccer right now, so that's
Yeah.
his. I support it as much as I can. My daughter does dance. She's also a musician. She plays clarinet and
Cool.
accordion. So it's hard to balance and everything, and I know that. But I tell them whatever you put your mind to and whatever you decide to do, don't stop at the first sign of trouble, or the first sign of difficulty. You
Mhm.
know. And so if that's the reason you're stopping capoeira because it's hard, that's not a good reason.
No. No.
But if it's taking away time from things that you really want to invest in, that's not a problem. And I tell it to most of my students, you know, and it's kind of a weird recruiting tactic, but I tell
Yeah,
parents,
got to counter.
like,
Yeah.
you know, I'm not going to force your kid to be
No.
here.
No.
I'm going to try to make the environment one that they're going to want to be here.
Yeah.
And, you know, just remind them on the days when it's hard that that's not a good reason to stop, you know. But if they do stop, whatever they focus on, whatever their next venture is, do it 100%. And we'll support them. I have kids who don't train with me anymore. I go to their football games. I go to their recitals because, you know, we have friendships that are
Yeah.
based not just on capoeira.
Yeah.
And
That's
we have 3 classes. We have a feeder program of toddlers. And
yeah.
you mentioned kids. The only reason that class existed is because my son wanted to train and he was like 3 years old. So I was like, yeah, I'll make a 3 to 5 year program.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And they're not learning capoeira.
No, it's
They're
just
learning capoeira movement.
plainness.
Yes. But those kids, if you look at the data, those are the ones who, because of those little games that we play in the coordination drills, those are the ones when they start the regular class, they fly, you know,
Yeah.
because they already have that basis. And so it's hard to kind of let the parents know because they see the end result
True.
and then they want to have that right now. And I'm like,
No.
relax. The
Relax.
kid's
Exactly.
kid.
Exactly.
I know. In fact, if you want to train so hard or you think you can do it, here's a uniform. I sell them, you know, come train with your kids.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you know, let me do my job and,
Yeah.
you know, take care of the kids and let them develop on their own way,
Yeah.
you know?
Exactly. Exactly. So do you teach your own kids?
I do. That's the hardest job, I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
That's the job.
Yeah. I want to ask you about it. So how's that relationship? You know, because you know you're their dad, but in the class, what's the relationship between you and your kids?
I would love to say I have it all figured out, but I don't. You know, like the reality is that sometimes because I know what they're fully capable of doing, you know, as a parent, I'm like, oh, come on, man, you could do better. And then I remember the advice I give to my own parents and I step aside.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't want to interrupt them too much, enjoy. I try to be as strict with them as I am with the other kids.
Same here.
As lenient. Yeah. You know, it's difficult sometimes, you know. Obviously, for them to turn that switch on and off is much more difficult.
Yes.
You know, my son will give me the look where he wants some more attention, and I'm like, I want to, but I can't. You know, not because I don't think you deserve it, but right now it's not appropriate in this class. You know,
exactly.
But it's tough. Sorry?
It's not all about your son,
right?
You have other kids as well. You know, I have the same because my kids love it when I teach the class and we have a good relationship, but they know I'm not, because I'm your dad, I'm not going to do you any favors. You have to train as hard as the other kids as well.
For sure.
Because I'm your dad, you're not going to skip quarters. You have to train, you know. And sometimes my son is really like, okay, I get it. And my daughter's a little bit younger. And sometimes she's a little bit playful and things she does at home, but where I allow it, you know, sometimes talk back, you know. In the class, sometimes she does it too. I was like, here's different, you know, here's different.
But that's good that you find a balance because, you know, like I said, the other thing is that I know there's a lot of pressure on them because sometimes my kids do very well.
Yeah.
You know, they play very well. And I would love to say, oh, it's because I'm a good teacher, but they're around Capoeira 24/7, you know, so
Yeah.
by osmosis, they're going to get some things.
Yeah.
Whenever I travel, sometimes they travel with me. When the mestres come here, they've seen them grow up. They call the mestres Chio, you
Yeah.
know,
Nice.
Chio Efra, Chio so-and-so, you know, so it's different. And, but I don't want them to, I don't want other parents sometimes to think, oh, of course they're better because they're the son of the teacher.
Exactly.
I'm like, no, they put in the work as much as anybody else.
Yes.
And anything, they just put more time in, which is the same result that will happen if your kid puts more time.
Yeah.
You know, not because they have better genetics or no, it's because like anything else, you put more time into something, you're going to get better, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes, but I think it's more me. Sometimes, like you said, sometimes like, come on, you can do better. I know you can do better.
Of course.
Because it's your kid. Because,
of course.
What are you doing? You know? But it's like you said, it's about the balance and try to figure things out as because it's still new. They are your kids, but they're also your students. So what's the relationship, you know? How are you gonna explain this? But I think my kids are pretty aware of it, you know, what our relationship is during the class and at home, you know. They, you know, at home they're more free to, you know, to talk back and, you know, do kid stuff, you know. But they know class, they know I'm the teacher, you know. They know after the training I teach the adult classes, you know. So they know my relationship in my role in the capoeira world, and they start to get older as well, so they understand it much better than 2 years ago. So yes, and I think, like you said, it's all about bringing the balance and try to support them and not to be over protective, but not over enthusiastic, because I don't want to pressure them all the time.
Because the end result of that pressure is going to be exactly what we don't want to have happen. Is because of the pressure, they lose interest and don't want to be
interest.
Yeah.
Yes. So I try to be more natural. I sprinkle some, you know, some stuff in. If I see that they want to learn more, I will give it to them. You know.
For sure.
But I always said to them, like you said, I don't want to, because I'm your father, that you have to do this because it's my thing. You have to do this because you like it, you love it, you know. And many times I have this conversation with them, and every time they're like, no, I'm still loving it, I'm still liking it. They're looking forward to the batizado, looking forward, you know, for every kind of training, you know. And okay, that's good. And but if they, like you said, if they want a quick tomorrow, I'm like, the part of me is like, oh man, but they're kids. They have to grow. They have to, you know, check other things as well, you know, in their lives, you know. So this, I think, really important for the development.
You know, and I think, like you said, you don't want them to resent it. And my master always says, you know, if you try to usher control, kids, they're going to do the opposite, you know. So like I said, I think the balance is just making sure then we have fun, we train, we don't treat them differently, but at the same time, the rationale for stopping something should be a good one as a parent, not as a capoeira teacher. So that's the one thing I do when they talk about stopping or not continuing capoeira. My conversation with them at that point is not as a capoeira teacher anymore, because I'm biased. I'm the capoeira teacher. But as a parent, how would I approach that if they were telling me about volleyball or about soccer? You know, if they were going to volleyball and they really didn't see that they have any enjoyment anymore, and they're really into chess at this moment, okay, then we'll talk about it then. So I apply the same idea to that when I talk to them about capoeira. As difficult as it is, I'm sure, like you said, it's like but then, you know, that conversation is almost as difficult with any kid who has potential. Right? I see kids who leave just when they're maturing, they're getting stronger, and I'm like, man, if you only knew what was behind this next step. I know you can't see it yet because you're over here, and you've walked so far and I know you don't see the next breakthrough, right? Because you see this wall, but I'm over here. I can see how close you are if you just follow. But to force that person over that wall never works.
No,
never.
no.
You know, so they have to. I try to guide them as much as I can, but when they make a decision, I don't take it personal, which is something I can promise you I've only learned recently. You know, when I was younger in my career, we all had our star students, the ones that they took 4 classes and we already start to fantasize, oh, he's gonna take over my class, this is my next professor. You know, it happens.
Yeah.
But 2 things are a result of that. One, we set ourselves up for disappointment and for putting undue pressure on them when they just want to train and have fun.
True that.
We also then divert attention from students who might not be as athletic or whatever, but definitely have a lot of value for capoeira as well.
And potential.
Absolutely, and potential, you know. And my master always says that the ones that get stuff easy are the first to go because they get bored.
Yeah.
But the ones who struggle, it's hard for when they accomplish something. It's such a big feeling of accomplishment that, you know, it's adrenaline rushing. It's addictive. They want to get to the next step.
Yeah.
And so we gave a girl back home the nickname Sorpresa, because she was the one that even myself, I should include myself in this group. When she joined, everybody was like, she's not gonna make it. There's no way. After first 2 classes, I was like, yeah, you know, but she's trying. You know, let's give her a chance. But in the back of my head, no way. Well, all the ones that said that quit, and she was the one that kept training, and got much better. So I told her when I gave her Apelido, I was like, this is more a reflection of your transformation on me, because I did not have as much faith in you, and you were a beautiful surprise. And so Sorpresa came, and she loved it. You know, it wasn't that she felt bad. It was like I said, a sense of accomplishment. She proved us wrong.
Exactly. That's the great thing, that people can prove you wrong in a good way.
Yes, absolutely.
Get surprised, because sometimes I hope to be wrong, you know, and I was like, oh damn, you got me there. Nice.
Yeah,
you know?
It provides a great learning opportunity for us, you know. So that when students walk in the door now, yes, you can be impressed by natural ability, but I'm not like drawn to it now with expectations. I'm like, no, let the kid be a kid, let the student be a student. Let's just have to go through the regular training, and whatever happens, happens.
What I have right now, because we are so long in capoeira, we've seen all kinds of stuff. I'm not that kind of impressed anymore with particular games, or no, I'm not particularly impressed with Florence movements.
Yeah.
I'm more impressed by people who are striving and work hard to get to the point that they want to go to, you know, and of course the games. If somebody does a beautiful backflip with or parafuso whatsoever, nice, cool. But I'm more impressed if one of my students or in capoeira with other capoeiristas, that you know that the person is really working hard to get points, you know, to rank up for themselves, you know. For me, that's really impressive, because you are also training from the inside and push it out, instead of just only the movements. And I know that because I was that kind of person that I only joined capoeira partly for the movements, exactly, for the movements, and I hated singing.
I remember you saying that when you were talking in the last.
Yeah, I hated singing, you know, but I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson, and then I was okay. Physical stuff, cool, but now I'm more like, maybe it sounds a bit spiritual, but I think I'm more like in a spiritual path right now, hence my name as well. But to, like I said at the beginning, to gain more knowledge, and from knowledge you unlocking stuff that you will put in the games as well, you know, because I start to notice when I come off like a Capoeira Talk, I have so much energy. So you know, and I will put that energy in a game or in music whatsoever, you know, and that's what I love about the interaction, you know. So that's how I learn right now, you know, because we have to learn. We never stop learning capoeira or in life general.
No, absolutely. And I think that if you look at like traditional martial arts and you think about Japanese martial arts, they often put a high value on enlightenment, right? You know,
Yeah.
and get level. The great samurais at the end of their life period, they're not the best swordsmen anymore, but they've accumulated so much knowledge
Yes.
that they're able to surpass their peers. My
Yeah.
master is a great example right now. My master has been doing capoeira forever. He's now been in America longer than he was in Brazil,
Oh, wow.
you know, and he came to the point now where like he no longer runs a capoeira school on his own.
Okay.
I made fun of him that he moved to Florida to retire, but it wasn't so much that he retired as it was he was just in another phase of his life.
Yeah.
With priority now was his own, like you said, self-enlightenment. And
Yeah.
so capoeira is always going to be a part of it. But he chooses to go when he feels that he wants to go. You know, there's no more pressure to prove himself to anybody else.
True.
His work speaks for itself. He's had a tremendously successful career,
Mm-hmm.
graduated lots of students, you know, and he always says that we're the best example of his work. And right now, when he wants to do capoeira the whole weekend or the whole week or the whole month or the whole year, it's his choice.
Yeah.
But the journey for him now is, like you said, to get to a deeper space here, you know,
Yeah.
because at some point the body can no longer do what it did before.
True that.
That should not stop your progress.
No.
You know, it just
No.
change the method of your learning.
Mm-hmm. That's really true, because I also want to talk about a little bit about injuries. How do you deal with injuries?
Well,
Do you
there's
have...
that joke, right? Capoeiristas are never healthy. We're always in between
Yeah.
injuries.
Yeah.
So there's two parts to that. So I have certain situations, conditions, predispositions, what do you want to say it,
Yeah.
that make certain movements difficult for me.
Yeah.
But I try to work around it. And I think having an injury, or because we always preach to my students, a student breaks their leg or breaks an arm or whatever. Oh, I can't come to capoeira. Of course you can. Because unlike many other martial arts, you can still sing.
Yeah.
You can still learn your instrument.
Yeah.
You can become better at so many different things.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I'm in a position where I'm not able to move as much as I want to, I find another realm within the capoeira world that I can improve upon. There's, like you said, there's always room for growth.
Yeah.
I'm a musician, so that part does come easier for me. But there's so many toques, there's so many masters out there who are not musicians, but this is their life. They have so much to offer. So
Exactly.
I go and I dive into the world of the pandeiro, the berimbau, or going to the stuff that led up to the atabaques rhythms in capoeira and what happened before.
Yeah.
Like you said, reading more, finding different people's perspectives, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever I'm injured personally, I try to find another niche in capoeira to improve, and use it to remind myself that as an example for my other students, you know. But Mestre Graveto once said, like, new capoeira movements, all the new fancy stuff, you can only do when your body is new. And but the old and tried and true capoeira movements you can do when your body's new and when it's old. So I sometimes limit my training to less of the acrobacia and more in the fundamentals. And when that's too much, like I said, I go into another aspect of capoeira. But I don't believe that being injured should force you to stop doing anything at all. You know. So that's the way I attempt it. I've been very fortunate to not have any major injuries in capoeira. I injured myself more in other stuff, to be honest.
Okay.
But I do have shoulder issues, very tight hamstrings, but that's lack of stretching. And I have a little bit of scoliosis, so it affects my balance.
Yeah.
You know, and our body is amazing. I know what's wrong with my body, so I know how to fix it so that no one will believe that I have this problem. But I'm aware of it, so that it helps that my wife is a physical therapist.
Oh, that helps. Nice.
Even though she complains that, you know, that's her job when she comes home. She doesn't want to have to deal with other patients. So you would think it would be the best solution ever. I still require some, please, can you take me over here? But that's probably every relationship, you know.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, but you're right, because if you're injured or if if you have a condition, you have to kind of work around it, because we are adapting. Capoeira adapts, but your body can adapt too. I have a condition in my hips. I have arthritis in my hips. They're quite bad. It's I got diagnosed like 7 years ago, and the doctor was already talking about a replacement hip.
Wow.
You know, yeah. But their goal was to postpone it
Of course.
due to my age, of course. And 7 years later, um, fortunately, I still have my own hips, but I know that
Yeah.
I'm kind of limited.
Yeah.
Certain moves, I cannot do certain moves anymore. So, like for example, I cannot do too much salto mortals anymore. Sometimes I do it. It's like fast food. You know, it's bad, but it's
Yeah.
tasteful. Right? Same with that. Sometimes I do a salto mortal just to be okay. Can I still do it? Okay, I can still do it, but not all the time. You know, uh, or martellus. You know, it's hurting, so I avoid that. But I have to change my way of playing and training. Uh, I changed my diet a little bit, and I I I still don't accept it what I have, but I have to deal with it.
Yes.
You know, that's what I'm doing now, and also, yeah, well, maybe physically I cannot do the all the movement that I did like 5, 10 years ago, but I think the newer me is more capable of doing stuff than the older me back in the days. You know,
And the
that,
newer you, this newer version of you also has lots of value still. For example, I know for a fact I love the Florios, but I can
yeah,
always find someone at every event who's better than me at this. I can always find someone who's better singer, better this,
yeah,
whatever. So then I used to question myself, well, why would people invite me to teach workshops? And I've been, again, very blessed
yeah,
to be able to travel a lot and teach lots of capoeira all over the world. And whenever I do it, I have to pinch myself as it's real, because what do I
yeah.
offer? And my master always says, it's not just about how high you can jump or how fast you can kick, right? There's a part of you
The
that
personality.
people are bringing, exactly, they're bringing with you. There's something about your essence, your being.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
like to be around people, and then on top of that, you also have this gaming capoeira people appreciate. And so I promise you, I read your post, and I remember I was going to talk to you about this. I thought it was very humble on your part to mention that, you didn't want to go as many events because of what you thought in your head, a picture of a spiritu was that they're trying to bring. My brother, everyone knows that as we get older, for whatever reasons, even if you had perfect hips, they're not just bringing you there, my brother, for you to go and fly and impress anybody. Those days of impressing, gone.
yeah.
You've made that name for yourself, and people want you to be there because they want you to be there. So take that as a reflection of the community's value that they put on you, and go with it, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
We always have our own image of, man, I'm a perfectionist
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Man, I know you didn't start this podcast because of 100 reasons. Oh, I don't know how to do this. I don't know which format. I'm the same way. Like I said, I'm a musician. I have boxes of songs that I never put out in the public because they're not ready yet.
true.
Man, perfection is a crazy man's quest.
Yeah,
The idea is just to do something. And so by you doing this, I guarantee you, no one's gonna question when they bring Espiritu to their event why he did less backflips this year, or less crazy hand spins, or amada dupla, whatever. Like the same reason you're reaching out to these people who you never met to get their stories, the people that are fortunate enough to know your story and have experienced your energy, that's what they're bringing you for. And so do this, continue this, but don't shy away from the community because of your own personal hang-ups about what professor or contramestre or mestre has to be.
yeah.
When you are the way you are, and that's why they're bringing you to these events. So that's one piece of advice I can give
Thank
you.
you. Thank
I
you.
hope you take that.
Yeah, I will take it, man. I will take it. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Anytime.
Because yeah, sometimes you got tangled up in your own mind, own
Of course.
way of thinking, and sometimes it's also confronting if you see your old footage. Like sometimes Facebook have their memories stuff. Oh, this happened 7 years ago, and I watch my shit, or YouTube as well. I was like, damn, I was flexible. Damn, I jumped high. Damn, it's like sometimes I was like, oh, it's cool. As I show my kids. Sometimes it's also confronting. It's like, shit, man, damn. But hey, it is what it is, you know.
It is what it is, and we'll make fun of you no matter what. Like if you try and jump tomorrow at the last event, every year I do the same thing. I said, man, let me pull out one flip and see how I feel the next day. And so I told my friend, Professor Sombra, I was like, hey, I did a mortal. He's like, yeah, man, I think you got over 30 centimeters. I was like, man, I didn't say it was very high. I'm just happy to die, okay?
I landed with feet, man. Damn.
Yes, I know, you know what I mean? But that's the thing, you know, like those little back and forths, the game of capoeira itself is going to be, you know, you give a person a hug, you give you a cabezada. You know, it's going to happen. Yeah. But you know, that at the same time he's saying that to me, we're all still pushing each other and you know, and trying to get better, but also recognizing we're in different phases of our lives, you know, yeah. And as long as I feel good enough to do certain movements, I will attempt and do them. But the day I feel that, and there's some movements already that I don't do as often, just because, you know, I know the risks, I know my own body.
Yeah.
I also know the reality of, have I been training hard enough at those movements? You know, that's the hardest thing for me, to be honest with you, is finding that balance of being a teacher and then a student again, you know, and to train. Yeah. Because training.
That's what we're talking about. That. Yeah.
Yeah. Training your class is great, but the ability to go to someone else's school and train like a student again, you know, that's so great. And I miss that. If I miss anything with capoeira, and I know I always tell myself, okay, you know, today with the adult class, I'm going to train with them as hard as I can. Yeah. But then someone does something different, I have to stop my training to go work with them and give them pointers, etc. So it's very difficult. So that leads into the self-doubt.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can do the mariposa as high as I can before. And I also have kids, man, if I get injured and I can't work now, if I can't play music, I can't do this. I'm not making any money. I got kids to feed, you know. So all of those things come into the conversation, which brings us back to what's the real priority that someone brings you there.
Yeah.
For your energy, for your experience, you know. Oh, look at the big names in the mestres. Mestre Accordion. If you're going to do any kind of salto at any event anytime soon, no. But people will pay good money to have him there just for him to talk, you know, because it's a lifetime
exactly
of achievement in capoeira. And of course, I'm not going to compare ourselves to him, but that's the goal, to accumulate all this wealth of knowledge and pass it on, you know, because we can't take it with us. So it's best that all that stuff we can pass on to the next generation.
Yeah. How do you also do some historical classes in your classes? Do we talk about capoeira?
We do, and I tell my students all the time, I would feel really embarrassed, and I think they should too, if someone says, hey, I do capoeira. Oh, cool, what's that? It's a martial art from Brazil. Oh, cool, how to get there? If your conversation cannot continue and you can know more with history, you're not really a practitioner of the art, you know? And I really think that it's super important, maybe not in the beginning, but I think the more you know about the art form and the more you know about the history, you have a better appreciation for it. Every time I lean down at the berimbau, no pedo berimbau, to go into the roda, I tell my students, for 1 second, just before you go inside that first au, I want you to think about the people who did not play this for recreation, the ones, the slaves, you know, or the just recently freed slaves who were doing this as a way to escape the reality of life.
Yeah.
You know, for just 1 second, and to play it to save their lives. And we do it now as a pastime, as a hobby. Yeah. That's crazy to me. And it wasn't like thousands of years ago, a few hundred years ago. You know, so it's not that long of a time away that slavery was around, and the first capoeira school opened up in 1930 something. That's not that long ago.
No.
You know, it's right around the corner. So, you know, if you go there and every time you humble yourself and think about the people that literally paved the way with blood and died for this cause, and if we are not, you know, good stewards of this martial art, it's all in vain. It's going to die out as a pastime, as a hobby, when it's much more than that. And I think that people like us, teachers of capoeira, I know you do a good job. And also, like, I heard, again, I've been listening to all your podcasts.
Oh, cool, man.
It's beautiful when someone asks me a question and I have no idea what the answer is. I'm like, man, I don't know. It's a great question. I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
I don't make something up in a spot and say, oh, no, that's...
I don't like that. No, I don't like the kind of... man.
I'll get back to you.
I'm really honest towards my students. I love to talk about capoeira, and I always tell them ask as many questions if you have any questions. But I will be honest. If I don't know the answer, I don't know the answer. I don't know everything. I have to do some research as well. But I'm not gonna come with a bullshit answer and talk
Right.
around it. Oh, maybe yeah. Oh, yeah. That man came from space with a space shuttle. No, 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 man. It's not like that.
You're telling me that's not true?
Exactly. So I'm really honest because like you said, history talking about capoeira is also capoeira training.
Absolutely.
Sometimes I do in the class capoeira, just talk about capoeira.
Yeah.
Also, sometimes when I have a bad day with my hips, I do less more physical stuff, and we talk about capoeira, about music, history about makulele or whatsoever, and people can ask questions, and I'll be really honest. Oh, you have a really good question. I don't know the answer of it, so I have to search. Of maybe you can do some research as well. It's like back and forth, and I think it's really important that you stay true and honest towards yourself, also towards your students.
Yeah. I also tell my students, I haven't done this in a while, and I'm happy we're talking about it because I should probably do it this summer. We used to have this thing where we would have our older students make presentations. We would go for different topics, whether it's makulele or capoeira Angola or the origin of the beating bow, whatever it was, and let them become the expert on one specific topic and then talk to the rest of the class about it. It's because that's a transferable skill as well. I tell our parents all the time, the stuff they learn in capoeira, a very small percentage of them will use this for capoeira for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
But I promise you, the skills that they develop and what they learn, these are transferable skills, the leadership, all of this stuff. And so this is just another way, not just to highlight to our students, but to highlight to the parents, the benefits of being in something like capoeira. So we do have those things. We have music workshops. We do berimbau making workshops, pandeiro making workshops. Lots of different things that are quote unquote they don't view as capoeira. And I've had students that have, the younger ones, they raise their hand.
Yeah.
When are we going to do capoeira today? Even after we've been talking for half an hour, 40 minutes. Yeah. And I'm like, we did.
Yeah.
This is another part of, and of course you're going to have kids that are bored and kids that are yawning, but it's our goal as teachers, to kind of make it fun and find new ways to make it accessible for them. The best way the best way I can realize that it's working is when we've done all our talking and the kids go, oh my God, class is already over. I can't believe how fast it went. Because that means they were engaged. That means they were interested. But if every 2 minutes they're looking at the clock and seeing how long it's going to take, then I always say, I'm not blaming them.
No.
I got to work on my skills as a teacher to engage them more,
True. That's a really nice idea. Kind of a show and tell, but in capoeira class,
Yeah.
Pretty nice. Maybe we'll do that as well.
And this surprise you, man. Again, some information that they found, and and it's a good way for them to start discerning. Not everything that's out there is true or real or makes sense, So to kind of like filter out the crap that's on the internet is another skill set that they have to develop for other parts of life. So nice. It's a good method of doing that.
Cool, man. Cool. Last question, last topic.
Sure.
How do you handle nicknames, apelidos, and what do you think about apelidos?
So it used to be, again, I'm listening to your other podcast, and it used to be that at the Batizado, for example, everyone would get a nickname for sure.
Yeah.
But I felt there was so much pressure with that as well, and I know I'm repeating what other guests have said, but in our school, I tell them all the time, I give my mestre as an example. His name is Efraim Silva. His capoeira name is Mestre Efraim Silva. Some nicknames, I call them, they stick. They're very sticky nicknames. They get on them. I've had students who come to me or their parents or grandmother or uncle be like, hey, my student Charles does capoeira. Charles? I don't have a Charles in my class. And I'm like, no, he's been doing it for 5 years. Charles? Not in my school.
Not in my school.
They go home, they're crazy, and then the day comes by and Charles walks in and, hey, my grandmother saw you. He said, yeah, but it said Charles Giganchi. His name is Giganchi, whatever. you know. So it's funny, and you can kind of tell your circle, right? I have friends that call me by my real name,
Yeah.
friends that call me by my nickname that my mom gave me. And then when I hear Graveto, I know for sure there's only one world that exists,
Yeah.
you know, in the capoeira world. But I think that sometimes you have to be careful. I'll give you an example. I had my wife's nickname is Batatinha, little potato, right? Spot. Yeah. And we had a little kid in the class that was super nice. Was very he bonded with her, and he was a little bit pudgy. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But not in a way. And again, these names we have to be careful, even though they come from a term of endearment, like it's nice. There can be associations with them that rub them the wrong way. So we called him Bataton, right? Batatinha, Bataton. Big little potato, big potato. And so, of course, the mom came and complained that we were making fun of him for being fat. We were making fun of him being heavy set. And she actually took him out of it in school.
Okay.
You know, I'm sure there were other reasons she took him out, but that was a very convenient answer.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you know, I was like, you know, it's not just the nickname that should mean something. It should be the way we give the nicknames. And so I have students begging me every day for a nickname. I'm like, man, you know, I can't. You know, I don't want to give you something that just sticks with you for a while. And also, I tell my little kids that the nicknames you guys get as a kid can change for sure. Or Mestre India's son, when he was younger, she's in Florida. His nickname was Mowgli from the little kid from the Jungle Book.
Yeah.
He was a super little skinny kid doing all this crazy stuff. And then I saw him, like, you know, 10 years later, from 6 to 16, Tubarão.
Oh, wow.
His nickname. And I, wow, that's a big, but again, fitting. The guy is a ginormous beast, man. You know, like a shark in water. And so, you know, it would make no sense for that kid to be called Mowgli at the time. So I tell students all the time, the name is a reference that we use, and sometimes they stick and stay there for a long time. And if you're very much aware that there was no bad intentions behind the name, and you get the parents involved if it's a younger student, and you make them understand that culturally sometimes there might be some hiccups, some bumps in the road, you know, a conversation can lead to a lot of clearing up. But if you just call someone this nickname and, you know, they go home and tell their parents, hey, guess what? My name is Macaco. Well, why are you calling you a monkey? You know, that's a derogatory term in this part of the country. And yeah, of course, I'm not referring to him as a monkey, but it's just that he was always climbing trees, for example. He was always jumping, you know, so you have to be careful. But I think, like I said, with most things, conversations and making it clear what the cultural part is and what the intention is and the rationale behind the name can go a long way. So, you know, I say nicknames, I give nicknames, and sometimes they stick. And other times I end up calling the person by their real name. Or, like I said, sometimes I forget the person's real name completely and only refer to them by their capoeira nickname, even when they've stopped capoeira.
I have that too. I think it's also I love giving names, but I love giving names that matters. And I'm not a kind of guy that's, you know, maybe you've heard me saying this before. When I give a name, I like to spend more time with the name, you know. What's the name about? Sometimes it can be like 2 months, 3 months, maybe a year, but sometimes I forget as well. But but I'm not gonna pick out a name or a word that sounds cool or
just because.
Oh, you want a nickname now? Okay, here it is. No, I want to spend time with you. I want to show you who you are, you know. And
because think about the student as well. They have to explain that nickname later on in their career as well. And if there's no rhyme or reason, just because it sounded cool, they're gonna have that as a story. Why is your name, you know, so and so? Samurai. Because it's Samurai was cool. It's a cool character. Yeah, but what's the connection to you? None. Exactly. You know. So
I don't know. That's why I love giving names, but I'm also really aware, and I have some students of mine that also teaches kids, you know, and I always tell them, and they always come to me for advice for nicknames, and I always tell them, okay, be aware of the nicknames, and like you said, nicknames can change over time, especially with kids. They can grow out of it, or they can stick, but be aware what you're giving, even and you know, start with the kids now. And even for adults later on, be aware what kind of names you're gonna give them.
Yeah.
Do some research. Do some research about the language of capoeira as well. You know, because there's a lot of names that have double meaning,
Oh,
triple
yeah.
meanings.
Yes.
I learned my
And
lessons as meanings that's like, oh shit, I never thought about that. You know,
yeah.
I have to be careful.
Yeah.
It sounds cool. I gave a name. It was many years ago, Avutorosa, and I took him to an event, and oh, this is my student Avutorosa, and some Brazilian was like giggling, you know,
Yeah.
yeah, Avutorosa. And they were, what's up, man? Yeah, Avutorosa can mean, you know, she loves to, you know,
Be adventurous.
yeah, be adventurous. You know, so I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
you know, those kind of stuff, you know,
Yeah.
because
Which
as
is
a non-Brazilian,
Go
yeah,
ahead. Go ahead.
because as a non-Brazilian, you're not steeped in that knowledge, in that culture.
Yeah. Yes.
We have to figure it out, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I learned my stuff. I'm still learning. I'm still
Yeah.
learning.
And also remember the whole idea of the nicknames was for anonymity, you know, so that, you know, when capoeira was illegal and, you know, you get caught, if you gave your real name, it was really easy to identify you and identify your family. So by having these apelidos, you're able to have some sense of anonymity, like and it's not unheard of, you know, there's, in French, it's a nom de guerre, your war name, you know, it's not only associated with capoeira that people take on names that are associated with their fighting persona. Even in boxing today or MMA, they have names all the time, right?
Yeah.
That associates them with their fighting name, you know? So I get all of that. But like I said, like we have to be cognizant of the cultural differences, the historical references that it may cause, the double entendres, like you said, the triple meanings, you know? So there's a lot of pressure sometimes where a conversation with someone who is better equipped. Mestre is more in tune with the Brazilian culture and will let me know, oh, definitely don't do this. But on the flip side, they might say, oh yeah, we use that nickname all the time in Brazil.
Oh, yeah,
Can't
yeah.
use it here. You know,
yes,
can't use it here.
I had it once as well. So, yeah, we do that all the time in Brazil, but yeah, you can't give it that shit. I was like, God damn it, you know, damn it. But yeah, this is the kind of things that you just have to learn by experience, you know, and I think if you're not, like I said, if you're not into that culture, you will never really understand, because we have our own culture, own things, but to have that connection with the Brazilian culture and also with the street language, it's kind of different for us, for non-Brazilian. But along the way, we learn from other Brazilians, you know, that's kind enough to teach us those kind of things, our masters or our other friends, the Brazilians, that I learn from, you know, and also reading about some stuff. Okay, I have to be careful about this, I have to be careful about that, you know, this has the triple meaning. Sometimes I just run names with my master. Can I give this name, blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, you can do this, but if he's go to Brazil, yeah, you know, it can be make fun of him, you know, because I also was later on recently, I had a student once many years ago, and named him Palhaço because he was also the clown on you know in the class, a kid back then. Then he came later, years later, came back to train again. His name's still Palhaço, but recently, maybe a year ago, I learned that Palhaço can also mean, you know, something really negative in Brazil, you know. And I was like, oh shit, I never knew that.
Yeah,
never knew that, because sometimes palhaço can be somebody who's like kind of a dick, you know. So, and of course, it was not my intention, not at all, because I didn't even knew. For me, it was just he was just clowning around. Oh, palhaço or bolso, well, palhaço. But sometimes, yeah, palhaço can be like somebody's I don't like that person. He's a kind of dick, you know. So, oh shit, know that. But those kind of stuff, you know. But I intrigued because I'm still learning about that fact that names have so many meanings and roots, and that's why I don't like that people just throwing names, because it's cool.
Yeah,
No,
no,
it's not.
I think it should come organically, and like I said, I have a lot of thought behind it because I think the pressure of putting the name, like the old tradition used to be in some schools where like during the batizado, a mestre who just met you, maybe had no conversation with you, just involved in one game where you got your butt kicked and got a belt, then
Yeah,
decide this is going to be the name identifies you for the rest of your capoeira journey.
exactly.
That's a little bit too much,
Yeah,
you know.
for me
But
as
again,
well.
I don't question if it works for them, it works for them. That's another thing that my master always says, you know, like this whole idea, traditions start somewhere, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And you know, you have to, I always pay heed to them in terms, I think it's important to recognize certain things, but you know, nothing is perfect, you know? And so I think that sometimes, you know, it's in the modern times, it is okay to transition to other traditions or to circumvent them completely if needed, you know, while still being aware that it historically has value and has a place, you know. So we can talk about apellidos and everything, but don't put the focus on it as much to make this like this, oh, if I don't have an apellido, I'm not a capoeirista, or, you know, of forcing someone to have a name. You know, I don't think I'd be any different of a capoeirista if I had a different capoeira nickname, you know, or if I wasn't referred to as this capoeira nickname. And in fact, I don't know how it is for you, but over here, and I always thought it was very weird. My master always says he's a master of capoeira, and that's it. So don't call him master outside of capoeira. So when the kids see me, you know, like they call me coach, you know, coach. The parents call me Coach Ty. No one ever calls me Graveto. It's like a mouthful to say, you know. But in the capoeira world itself, other capoeiristas, other masters will call me Graveto. But the parents, the kids, most of the time call me Coach Ty. As they get a little bit older, they'll say Graveto. You know, I'm not hung up on the title. I am who I am. That's it.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's interesting to see where we put our priorities sometimes, you know.
Yeah. Nice, man. Well, brother, thanks you, man. Thanks.
Thank you, man. This was an awesome experience, and being here, I'm glad to be part of this, and I'm looking forward to following all the other ones that you have coming up.
Yeah, man.
And again, don't let this be the only time we see each other in the next.
No, because it's not like a one thing deal. I want to have, you know, another conversation maybe later on, you know, another stories to tell. It's not like, okay, we just did it once and then, okay, bye. No, I want to do this again sometime. And we have a lot of things to share, a lot of things to tell.
But besides that, like, you know, after the travel has been lifted now for a pandemic for a while now, so we're trying to travel some more. I'm heading to Canada again pretty soon. I'm hoping to be in Europe sometime soon. So if I do, I'll definitely try to swing by. I know I'm going to be in Belgium. I don't know if you knew. And then, but also, let's see if we can get you at some point over here in Texas, man.
That would be cool, man. That would be cool. I'm down for that.
Awesome.
Brother, thank you
so much. Have a great day, and thank you for the opportunity. Ashe.
You're welcome, man. Ashe. Abraço.
Abraço.